1 Corinthians 18, the message of the cross to the world is foolishness. To believers, it's the power of God. So I will preach today on the message of the cross and why some people think it's foolish. In the early 2000s, I was pastor of a church on the San Francisco Peninsula, and it was an open and gracious church. And one week, the local rabbi contacted us and asked if we could host the Overflow High Holy Days. And we immediately said yes. And about a week before Rosh Hashanah, the rabbi came down to look at the sanctuary to think how he would have to prepare it for High Holy Days. And I was there with him and a deacon from the church. As we were leaving, the rabbi asked very softly and kindly, "Is there any chance for our High Holy services you could take down the big cross?" And we had a big cross, this big, beautiful cross hanging on the wall, and it was the sacred focus of our community, and it was so beloved, and he could tell we were taken aback a little bit. He just said, "Oh, talk about it and let me know." So the next day we called a meeting of the entire diaconate, and they began to discuss it, and some of them were sharing the gravity of the moment. I mean, this is the sacred focus of our community. And I was wondering where the conversation would go, and I wasn't saying anything. And then suddenly, one of the deacons, this little elderly woman, she raised her hand, and then she stood up, and she's only like 5 foot, and she stood there in our midst and said, "The cross is the very vision of love and humility. We would dishonor the memory of the man who lived for others if we didn't take it down." And the whole room just stayed silent. And then I just said, "Mic drop." And everyone nodded at each other, and that was it. There was no more conversation. The next day, a handful of the deacons, and we brought some construction guys because it was a big cross. We went into the sanctuary, and it took us a long time to kind of figure out how to get that mammoth cross down, and the construction guys were helping us, and we were talking and chatting, and it was all just light and fun. But then when we got the cross off the wall, and it took 3 of us to even hold the thing, and as we had it in our hands, suddenly we all fell silent again. And as we walked out of the sanctuary with the cross, we all just knew without saying a word that it was maybe the holiest moment we'd ever experienced in that sanctuary. The sheer humility and love of it. Oh, the cross, the sweep of the meaning of the cross. We began worship today talking about lifting high the cross, and we should lift high the cross for what God has done for us. But look at the sweep of the cross. You can lift it high and see God's truth. You can carry it down low and also see God's truth. The cross has clearly become the primary symbol of Christianity. For a Christian, it means that love and that forgiveness and humility. It means so much. But do you know it took a while for it to become the primary symbol? Oh, it took a while. Think about it. It's not easy for the cross to become the symbol of love and sacrifice, of forgiveness, because the cross, it was originally, it's a method of execution. It's a method of torture. It's like hanging an electric chair on the wall, trying to turn that into a symbol. But watch what happens to our beloved cross. Somehow, that which represented hate transmogrifies, transmutes, transforms into the very symbol of our faith. It took time. It appears that it was not until about the year 200. The first cross we've ever found, archaeologists, is a little graffiti of a cross on a wall in Rome, on the Palatine Hill. It's called the Alexamenos Graffito. It's just an act of graffiti. It's a crudely drawn cross with Jesus on it, but Jesus has the head of a donkey. This graffiti was deriding Christianity as foolishness, as ridiculous. That's the year 200. It took a while for this symbol to take hold. Later in the 200s, when Christians were being arrested for their faith, when we were an illegal religion in the Roman Empire, and when Christians were thrown to the lions in the arena, by the 200s, suddenly when a Christian was about to die, they would take on this posture. They would take on the form of the cross as they died. Then in the year 312, the symbol became the official symbol because Constantine had converted to Christianity, and he's heading off to a battle at the Milvian Bridge against Maxentius, and it's a battle for the Roman Empire, and Constantine put on the shield of every soldier the Chi-Rho. The Chi-Rho is the mixture of the first two letters of Jesus' name in Greek with the cross. And they went to battle with the cross on their shields, and they won, and it became the official symbol. But listen, is the cross a battle standard, really? Watch what the world can do with this symbol, even now. Now it's an official symbol, and you begin to see finally by the 4th century, by the 5th century, Christians are putting the cross on doors and in their places of public worship. It becomes the primary symbol. When I knew I was preaching on the cross today, Wednesday, I came in the sanctuary and I counted the crosses in our sanctuary. And you're going to have to check my math because I did it pretty quickly, but there are 153 crosses in this sanctuary. It's become the primary symbol. 153. You might not notice as you walk in the doors, you're coming in under the rose window cross that is looming over the whole courtyard in our sanctuary. Then you walk upon the Jerusalem cross in the tiles. As you come in the sanctuary, of course, you do see the processional crosses, and there's a cross in this tile. You see those. You may not see that one singular cross is hanging at the very center of our sanctuary. It's behind the words of the Lord's Prayer, and you have to be at the right angle, but there's a massive cross behind those words. And then as you begin to count them and you look at our windows, and these amazing crosses present themselves in these windows. For example, you can see the carpenter's cross, and it represents itself again and again. The carpenter's cross is 2 hand saws crossed to remind us he was a carpenter. I love that. A humble carpenter. But also presenting itself in these windows is the shepherd's cross. 2 shepherd crooks are crossed, reminding us he is our shepherd. And those present themselves again and again in a Roman cross. And then you go to these arcades and you see crosses wrapping us. We're ensconced in crosses. I see the Chi-Rho. I see the mariner's cross, an anchor. We're a seafaring faith. Paul's trips over the Mediterranean, the mariner's cross, and the Jerusalem cross. 153. Oh, it's the primary symbol. But in its sheer ubiquity, do we begin to lose hold of its basic message? What is the basic message of the cross? Oh, it means many things. But what has always been central for Christians is that at the cross is the moment of atonement. The saving power of the cross, atonement, where we are made one with God at one-ment, when we are brought back into right relationship with God. For you see, my friends, we can't do it alone. We have disconnected ourselves from the divine love in ways that are myriad, and we can't find our way back alone. We came from this love originally, but somehow we have alienated ourselves from this divine love, and we can't find our way back. There's nothing we can do. There's something that within us that is twisted, that always goes wrong. And you saw this week, this violent world we live in, and we try again and again, and we can't do it. We can't just pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and be one with God again. And so God reaches out to us. This is the power of the message of the cross. That we can't do it. Whatever you think you can achieve, we can't do it alone. So God reaches out to us. This is the power of the cross. Do you know of Alistair Begg? He was this Scottish preacher that preached his whole career in Cleveland, Ohio. And he was very traditionalist. I don't agree with all his theology, but he had this message that he kept trying to convey until he finished his ministry, that we can't do this alone. We need God. We can't count on what we can achieve or how we can pull everything together. That we need God. He would try to say it in so many ways. Because when you say there is God, it means we're not God. And we need God's help. And he would say it in so many ways. One way he would talk about when you get to the gate of heaven. When you get there and the angel asks, "Why are you here?" If you answer in the first person, you've gone completely wrong right at the start. If you answer in the first person, if you say, "Well, I'm in heaven because of my faith. It's because of my good things I did in life. I made it to heaven. It's because of my beliefs." If you speak in the first person, it's completely wrong. You have to answer in the third person. "I'm here because of him." That's the only right answer. You couldn't do this yourself. You're here because of Jesus Christ, the power of God through Jesus Christ. And Alistair Begg would try to convey this in so many different ways. And sometimes he would talk about the thief on the cross. Do you remember Jesus was surrounded by two thieves? And he would talk about the thief. And he would say when he got to the gate of heaven, the angel would ask him, "Why are you here?" And the thief would say, "I don't know." And the angel says, "Come on, I mean, you're here. You must know." "I have no idea why I'm here. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a reason why I'm here." And then the angel would say, "I have to get my supervisor." And then the supervisor angel would come down and said, "Let's be clear. Are you here because you believed in the doctrine of the justification by faith alone? Or are you here because of your trust in Scripture? I mean, tell us. We have to know. Why are you here?" And the angel says, I don't know. I'm here because of the man on the middle cross. He just told me I could come." Do you remember? Both thieves were cursing him, but one tried to stop it, and he said, "I'll see you in paradise." The thief wasn't there because of anything he did. Jesus said he could. This message of the cross, that this is God reaching out to each one of us, to our world, to try to bring us back into right relationship. The power of this message, but it can become foolishness to the world. I mean, come on, it's an intense symbol. It's kind of, I mean, why is the central symbol so violent? And it just, what could this mean? And to the world, you know, when a Christian lifts high the cross, we're saying God is real. But for the world, they don't know God's real. You see, the world tries to seek God through understanding, through the intellect. This is what the world will try to do. They'll try to make their way to somehow believe in God through the intellect. I mean, and I studied in college, you know, all the great philosophers that tried to develop a proof for God, a complex proof of God's existence, but you can't do it. All those proofs, they fail. You can't get to God through understanding. If you have faith in God, and I hope you do, it's a gift of God that you have that. You didn't make your way there. It's a blessing from God. And when the world looks at the cross and feels that it's foolish in the Scripture, that's moros in the Greek, moros or mori, and that means absurd or silly, or really you could translate it ridiculous. The world will think it's ridiculous because the world's into success, right? And the cross looks like a defeat, you know? I mean, how can this be? And so the world's into what it can achieve, and the world's into bluster and bloviation and ego and what I can do. And then the cross says, you can't really do anything. God will help us. Somehow the cross turns defeat into love, truth, and victory. And every time I look at the cross, I think of all the defeats of my life. We suffer a lot of defeats as we live our lives. But I know, and somehow the power of God, you know this, our defeats teach us so much more than our victories. You know this. You know this, that through defeat, God is at work. God is at work reaching out to us to bring us into God's embrace. It's through our defeats, you know this. And when I sit here in a sanctuary that is flush with the power of the cross, and I look at that cross, and I think what it tells me in some primary way is that we do not suffer alone. There is so much suffering in our world, but we do not suffer alone. God, through Jesus Christ, was willing to enter the suffering of the world. This is what the cross tells me. God, through Jesus Christ, was willing to enter into our suffering in an unbelievable way. And there is so much suffering in the world. And when I look at these crosses, I can see on each cross, I can see the migrant, or I can see a trans person, or I can see someone that's just got somebody's boot on their neck. In this world, there's so much suffering. And it's saying that God will not leave us alone in this suffering, because if we're alone in the suffering of this world, we won't make it if we're alone. We need God. We can't do it without God. Oh, the cross.